Welcome to Golden Mastermind Seminars Radio with your host, Jeffrey Combs.
Good afternoon, Jeffrey Combs, 2 for Tuesday, and this is the Golden Mastermind Podcast. So good to be here with you. The second week of January, year of our Lord 2026. I'm very inspired for this podcast and for this year 2026. Yesterday, January 12th, year of our Lord 2026 was my birthday, so I am 69 years old. It's amazing that I reached this point. I remember being 39 and being financially challenged. So 30 years ago, I was just breaking through. So what an amazing opportunity it is to be here with you and share 30 years of entrepreneurial history. And I'm going to cover one of the breakthroughs that really assisted me to break through to become that entrepreneur that I eventually became, and a seven-figure income earner in two businesses after years of no results and very little profit. So I'm going to cover some of that today. It's called The Science of Attraction. I'm going to cover this in about 10 to 15 minutes, and my podcast is going to be shortened down to around 10 to 15 minutes on Tuesday. I find they're much more effective, so thank you if you're watching this on replay or from my website. I do appreciate it. Jeffrey Combs here with you on January 13th. Topic for today's Facebook Live is the science of attraction. Now, you've heard the term, the laws of attraction. You've heard that over and over many times. Well, attraction is a skill, and I did a short video on it this morning that's on Facebook, on Reel, and it's also on Instagram. And to be able to attract your reality, people that are in alignment with you, you want to be clear on what outcome you are seeking to create. If you own a business, if you're in free enterprise, if you're a podcaster, if you're a real estate professional, if you're an insurance agent, if you're a network marketer, a direct sales professional, a coach, a speaker, if you own a contracting business of multitude of sorts, situations, if you're an influencer, an affluencer, you are going to require customers, clients, vendors, contractors, producers, and people in your circle of influence. And then if you are searching for a soulmate, that's another situation of attraction. If you're looking for a teammate and you're building a leveraged business, it will also break down to your skills at being able to attract. And if you look over the landscape of whatever business venture you have or own, and you see that there's very few followers and no influencers and no one that's really building a business, then that's a direct reflection of what's going on with you emotionally. So in climbing the map of the scale of consciousness, so at the very bottom of it, down here, down at the bottom of that map of the scale of consciousness, is called anxiety, fear, and doubt. And if I circle that at the bottom of that pyramid, that means that around 80% of the population lives in levels, high levels and lower levels of anxiety, fear, and specifically doubt. And those emotions are driven by anxiety. The emotions of anxiety, fear, and doubt are driven by anger. And the anger family is frustration, disappointment, rage, hate, and then the abiding anger called resentment. I just noticed today that I have 3 copies of the book Angry All the Time, second edition. I read the first edition multiple times, and I see that over the years I've collected 3 different copies of that book, Angry All the Time. I read it multiple times, and the anger family is the emotion that I identified with frequently as I was going through my challenges, struggles, and even today, my body will occasionally relapse into frustration, disappointment, and then those are soul-sucking moments. I recently went through a situation where I bought a multiple $1,000 sports card for Christmas for myself, and it got lost by Federal Express, and it brought up a lot of anger in me that I was letting go of daily, but I also saw a couple of my days, saw the soul get sucked out of me because of the paperwork and the procedure I had to go through to request a refund. It also included a police report, which was a whole another level of navigating the system. And so multiple paperwork, I had to go through 3 entities and eventually received the refund, but the cost of energy and time was enhanced by my ability to let go after I was relapsing back into some of those feelings. The anger family, anger, hate, frustration, disappointment, rage, and resentment. and then abandonment, rejection, overwhelmed feelings, grief, apathy, and pride. That is the neurological network of neurons that wire and fire that form the feelings of anxiety, fear, and specifically doubt. So when you find yourself in doubt and you find yourself in these feelings, this is where the skill of letting go becomes an asset for you. And this is also where the 4-7-8 breathing technique can allow you to change that energy and to change that flow. So a 4-7-8 breathing technique is 4 seconds to bring the breath up. You hold it for 7 seconds, and then you release it for 8. Followed with the term release. It's the 4-7-8 method. It's like pushing a button. It's called reset, and you're resetting the neurological network of neurons that wire and fire that form the feelings. And as you do this more frequently, you will let go of this right here, the fear and anxiety. Now, this is an old book. It's so old that the pages are yellowed. This is an old Edgar Cayce book. Now, if you know who Edgar Cayce was one of the world's greatest healers of all time. So if you're watching this on replay, right here he is, Edgar Cayce. You can find that there's many, hundreds and hundreds of books written on him, and he would go into a meditative state, and he could assist people to understand with what was ailing them. He was one of the world's greatest seers of medical healing. He was a pioneer of tinctures and was also able to intuitively read people, and he never capitalized on it. And many people came to him wanting him to pick sporting events and other situations that he was not comfortable with. He stayed true to his calling, and the Edgar Cayce Foundation is in Virginia Beach, Virginia, and you may look that up. And he also has a bookstore called ARE Bookstore, and I have bought hundreds of books from that bookstore over the span of 30 plus years. And this is my first book that I ever read on anxiety and fear. I eventually read all of David Hawkins' books that breaks down, and then all the Joe Dispenza's books that I've read, along with John Assaraf, Greg Braden, Bruce Lipton, and all the greats that really let you understand cause and effect, why you do what you do. And then to leave Louise Hay out would be an atrocity. Louise Hay was the first woman or man, the first person I read that broke down what a mind-body connection is. I then followed that with another book called The Mind-Body Prescription. I also wrote another book. I read multiple books on that topic. I began muscle testing in 1992. I became a student of chiropractic. I began to understand the anatomy of the body and healing myself, which in essence begins to improve the who and what I attract in a relaxed body. As you look up over the landscape of what you're attracting, this will show up in, if you're single, who you're dating and mating, or who you're not dating and mating. And if you're building a business, it will also show up in who you are attracting. Now, there's also going to be an 80-20 rule, 80% and 20%. So 80% of the population will comprise 20% of the results. 20% produces 80%. That's also called the Pareto principle. And the more you understand that, the more that you will be able to dial in on how to attract from that 20%. There's a book called The 80-20 Rule. The author's name is Koch. He has 3 books. I have read all of them multiple times. I've also read multiple books on quantum leaps. 2 + 2 = 16. That is multiplication, not duplication, meaning that in attraction, you are attracting people at an occlusal alignment and a occlusal rate at a much higher level of consciousness than most of the planet, universe, or society, because you have broken through and you understand that attraction is a skill. Yesterday, one of my top tier clients of all time, Diane Hunt, sent me a picture of 2 of her teammates, and they were doing the Charlie's Angels sign, and she said she sent that for me. And that was 3 exceptional women that I coach at the same time, and they're in her team. So she attracted to reality through 6 degrees of separation. The 6 degrees are the levels of separation that you learn to attract your reality people from, that will fulfill the feelings of understanding, knowing, belief, certainty, trust, truth. And then as you begin to understand even deeper, then it's love, joy, gratitude. I was coaching a man recently, pointing out to him that he doesn't understand gratitude. Once you access gratitude in the science of attraction, your attractor factor goes up. Like that. It's like when you access gratitude, when you can let go of being a victim, you let go of being frustrated and disappointed, and you hone in on gratitude, all of a sudden you stop and you go, wait a minute, I have a lot to be grateful for. When you actually access that gratitude, you're changing the whole mind-body connection, and the energy flows up through you. It releases. Now you've given that energy to the universe. Now it has a shelf life, that gratitude. And you're going to attract your reality more people who can change that same energy from chaos, drama, trauma, anxiety, fear, and doubt to instant gratitude. That gratitude button is just, it's absolutely amazing what it does for the mind-body connection. It opens the pineal gland. It changes the reticular activating system. The amygdala, which has been, it goes back to its normal size. The prefrontal cortex shrinks. The hippocampus, where your short and long-term memory is. The prefrontal cortex is the ability to decide and discern. It improves. And now the frequency is now changing so that you're vibrating emotionally at a much higher level of consciousness. And so the science of attraction is to be able to let go of the anxiety, fear, and doubt you live in. And see, it's much more complex that if I'm positive, I'll attract positive people. And if I'm negative, I'll attract negative people. In context, there is value to understanding that, but the true value is understanding the map of the scale of consciousness. So any energy below courage, which is the breakthrough factor, courage is not an emotion, it's a quality. And when you access courage, you're now in a high emotional frequency that brings you into the quantum field. And that is understand, know, trust, truth, belief, certainty, love, joy, bliss, awareness, and understanding. All of those words create a collective consciousness that brings you in an emotional, energetic vibration at above 200 cycles a second, which brings you into the possibilities. And now as you continue to scale that map of consciousness, you live more frequently in sobriety consciousness. There are no more cheat days. You are highly productive with your days. You have a schedule, you have a structure, you have a purpose, you have meaning. Your conversations are shorter. You spend less time begging and convincing people. You're very clear on what you're looking for. You're able to let people go easily and effortlessly in a relaxed body. You're living in a place called non-attachment. You're not attached to the outcome. So you're able to focus on the task at hand. You're able to deliver your message clearly. And as you're able to let go in a relaxed body, you are no longer the mind-body connection to the events that shape the feelings. If you're watching this content on replay and 2026 is your year and you're looking for one-on-one coaching, I offer free 20-minute coaching sessions. I would be honored to speak to you. You can go to my website, goldenmastermind.com, and fill out a survey, or you can contact me directly on Facebook Messenger. I'll respond to you immediately. Breathe, release, and let go in a relaxed body. Jeffery Combs.